the gambling license approvals, business license operating conditions for Class A lot in the 3rd Ward, business license operating conditions at Mill City Massage, our workforce development services RFP for 2021 through 2025, an interim lease agreement with North Star Community Rowing for a portion of the Upper Harbor Terminal, pre-development forgivable loan for the project at 345 East 38th, and then we'll pull item 16 for an amendment. I'll also note that item 17 is referring to staff occupancy regulations ordinance. Is there anything anyone would like to pull on items 9 through 15 and item 17? Seeing none, I'll move approval of the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. We'll then move to our public hearing presentation, our first order of business, and I would ask our staff, Deb Barhelgen, to come forward and present the 2019 awards for outstanding service to a number of organizations.
Great. Do you want us to come in the front?
I'm not sure about that. I think that would be better. Is there a microphone? Irene, we'll grab a microphone. You can come around front. Item number 16 has not been passed. That's going to be the last item on our agenda.
Okay, we can get started.
Okay.
Just to say a few opening words. Thank you, Chair Goodman and members of the committee for this opportunity to recognize our high-performing partners. My name is Deb Barhelgen, Director of the Minneapolis Employment and Training. Each year, the City of Minneapolis Employment and Training and the Minneapolis Workforce Development Board have the great honor of presenting Partner of the Year award to an agency which has provided outstanding employment services to unemployed and underemployed youth and adults. Through a diverse network of community-based organizations, our adult workforce development programs help Minneapolis residents find and retain jobs or pursue training that will lead to employment. Additionally, our youth programs contribute to a strong and future workforce in Minneapolis. So presenting the adult award, and then we'll move to the front here, is Laura Beath, Chair of the Minneapolis Workforce Development Board. Laura is also Chair of the Governor's Workforce Development Board and serves in a national role as the first woman to serve as chair of the National Association of Workforce Board Chairs. And she's also the Vice President of Talent Acquisition at Fairview Health Services. And with that, we'll get started.
Would you like to come around front? You can use that mic and stand here and face the...
Sure.
Then others can come up and face the cameras too.
Thank you so much. This is always a great opportunity to celebrate. It's at the end of the year here. So first of all, I just want to thank you all for being here and to the award recipients. Yep. I was going to call them up in a second, but we can't. Come on up. In response to the growing need for tech workers in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region, the City of Minneapolis Employment and Training and the Minneapolis Workforce Development Board partners with high-quality accelerated learning programs to quickly skill up job seekers looking to enter the tech industry. Jewish Family and Children's Services, our long-standing partner, provides wraparound services helping participants be successful in the training. Since the effort began in 2015, more than 1,600 people have graduated from tech trainings through MSP Tech Hire, and more than 1,300 of them are now working as tech professionals with one of our 500 employer partners. I can tell you firsthand, this is such a high-quality program. We at Fairview have also partnered with Tammy Dickinson and others and placed individuals, even from the Cedar Riverside area, where we're doing a lot of work to make sure that we're working with people that are underemployed. Jewish Family and Children's Services have been selected as the Adult Provider of the Year for being an outstanding partner in their work to support the MSP Tech Hire. Judy Halper, Executive Director for Children, Family, and Children's Services, and her team are here to accept the award. Their case managers, Sue Thompson and Mariah Johnson, offer a full range of services to participants from the initial intake and eligibility all the way through job placement. Their team is always flexible in meeting the needs of participants and has a good understanding of what the students may need to successfully complete training. As MSP Tech Hire has grown in terms of services and numbers of participants, the Jewish Family Children's Service team has risen to the challenge of serving even more people each year and continuing to provide a thoughtful, personalized experience to each participant in the program. In addition, they are a partner in our newest MSP Tech Hire training project funded by DEED that will recruit and train participants at the most entry-level stages of their tech careers. What an accomplishment. Congratulations.
You take that. Thank you. So thank you very much, and it's such an honor to be acknowledged in this way. And what I particularly want to say is thank you to my team, who are an amazing group of individuals and staff that really love what they do and do it so well, and we're so appreciative of their work. And I also want to say how appreciative we are to partnering with the city. What I hear from my staff is that it's collaborative, it's true partnership, and that we really share goals and work really hard to make sure that we're doing our very best. We're very proud of some of our statistics, and you've mentioned some of them, but I just want to say that since 2013, we've served over 750 people, assisting them in starting their careers in IT jobs. And last year, 50% of our participants were residents of the city of Minneapolis, and the average starting wage for those that completed the program was nearly $25 an hour. So we are just so very pleased with the opportunity to help people to have really sustainable and meaningful employment, and it's a pleasure. Thank you for this honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, then you can put what's in these.
We're going to move to the Youth Service Partner Awards. So here we go. Step Up prepares today's youth and tomorrow's career by recruiting, training, and placing Minneapolis young adults aged 14 to 21 in paid internships each year with over 200 employers from Fortune 500 companies and small businesses to public agencies and community-based organizations. In 2019, Step Up provided nearly 1,400 internships to Minneapolis youth. Interns earned $3.15 million in summer wages. Amazing. That's just this last summer. A significant contribution not only to building the future workforce, but to Minneapolis families. Today we honor the Step Up Collaborative, Achieve Minneapolis, the Department of Employment and Economic Development, and Project for Pride in Living. Nina Robertson, director of the Step Up, will now share more about the outstanding work that each of these organizations do to collectively make Step Up a great success. I'd also just like to say one more thing. Having been in this space for a long time, it's such an amazing, amazing program. We have continued to support Step Up. I was part of the discussions before it was called Step Up back in the day, and our interns have turned into our employees, so it is just such a great opportunity, and thank you for all you do. And here's Nina the rock star.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. So yes, as Laura mentioned, we are honoring the Step Up Collaborative, key partners who come together to really make the Step Up system whole and work for Minneapolis young people and our business partners. So we're super excited today to share space and be able to honor them. And I'll just share a few highlights for each of our partners. So Achieve Minneapolis, they recruit and support the training for over 2,000 Minneapolis young people at our annual Step Up Work Readiness Training. It's a huge event, really, really fun, and we're always looking for volunteers. But Achieve Minneapolis oversees that process. Achieve also develop and lead our recruitment strategies to create meaningful employment opportunities for young people ages 16 through 21, so our level 2 track of Step Up. In 2019, Achieve Minneapolis recruited 573 meaningful internship opportunities. Also, they offer a tiered training curriculum for our step-up supervisors and partners to ensure high-quality internship experiences. And also, Achieve Minneapolis supports the development of a robust training and internship model to support students who are pregnant and parenting teens. This was actually a newer program that we piloted just last year, and it was extremely successful. We were able to take students who have significant barriers to employment, so pregnant and parenting teens, and pull them into our fold, revamp our training experience, bring it actually to Longfellow their school, and match them to internships that were flexible and met their needs. And those students were able to earn academic credit for their training and summer school experience. So really, really awesome, and Achieve Minneapolis really supported that and just lifted up and made sure that we were able to provide meaningful experiences for young people. So those are just a couple of highlights for Achieve Minneapolis, but thank you all. Yeah. Would you like to go there? I don't know what else is coming up for the photo. Or is it? Or I think Sean's taking it. Oh, Sean's taking it. Thank you. All right, we'll move it on. Project for Pride in Living. So PPL provided work readiness training. They actually developed the curriculum and lead the instruction in the classroom. And last year we trained 2,79 Minneapolis young people, focusing on communication development, decision making, and lifelong learning skills that build attitude and character. So we were really excited about our work readiness training last year, and we developed a new curriculum, and it was fantastic. Also, last year we launched, or it was actually the second phase of a program where all of our students were able to earn elective credit, work-based learning credit, for their training and internship experience. And last year, 834 of our interns were able to earn credit through Step Up. So we were really, really proud and excited about that. PPL operates, they also lead our pre-employment to healthcare training for students or interns who are interested in working in healthcare internships, and provide employer support through a newly developed job coach model. This went hand in hand with our credit system for last year, where we were able to bring on more job coaches who are actually licensed teachers, and our job coach ratio changed quite a bit. We had about one job coach to about 35-ish young people, sometimes even less, which was a really, really different approach to how we've led our job coach model in the past, and young people were very successful. Proud to share that 91% of our interns who got a job through Step Up successfully completed their internship experience. So really, really proud of that, and I would think that that's directly connected to our really strong job coach model as well. So awesome. Thank you, PPL. Great. Oh, did you all want to have an opportunity to share anything? Sure. I'm just like yapping in.
My name's Casey Wall. I work with Project for Pride in Living, and I just want to say how grateful I am to our partners at the City of Minneapolis and also to our partners at Achieve. This was my personally first full year of doing this work with Step Up, and it was really, really fun on top of being very successful. And so I'm just really grateful for the partnerships that we've developed and look forward to another really fun, exciting year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, Dee, do you all want to come up? Leona and Sandra? And I'll begin. So Deed, these folks, I used to work, or I do still work very closely with them, but I worked really closely with Leona and Sandra and Ibrahim. They work really closely with our level 1 division of Step Up. That's our 14 and 15-year-old internship program, and it's super dear and near to my heart. I was a program manager with this program for 3 years before I have my new role with Step Up. So super excited and proud of all of the work and great partnership over the years. And this past summer, Leona and her team matched 765 level 1 14 and 15-year-olds to their first job experiences. Often, most of them, it was their first job experience, and also hired many community folks, so mostly youth workers, to come in as job coaches to support these young people with their first job experience, really making sure that they were successful on the job, and then also supervisors who needed support. In many capacities, her team were like on call, always willing to go to the sites, meet folks in community to make sure that we were able to support those young people really well. So really, really proud of all of the work they did there. LEAD also developed and facilitated our level 1 supervisor training, so to prepare all of our supervisors so that they are ready to receive our young people and support them well with their first job experience. Often we're focusing on how do you also be a youth worker and a supervisor for the 14 and 15-year-old supervisors. So Leila and her team leads that, and they do a really, really awesome job. So I just wanted to thank you all for all of your work and being innovative and continuing to support programs for our 14 and 15-year-olds. So thank you. Do you want to share anything?
Well, thank you very much. I'm really glad that we are part of this event today, and through a great partnership with the city. We've been implementing this program for the last almost 10 years, and the team's doing a great job all the time. And like Nina said, that going to different places, doing all the firefights that's coming up with dealing with the teenagers. I've got few, and I grade early. I don't know how they actually do all that 600 plus youth every year, but they're doing a fantastic job actually, and preparing all that. With the baby boomers going out of the workforce, it's very, very important that we actually all we can for the youth so that they can step in and be ready to be the future leaders of our state. Thank you very much.
And then I kind of missed an opportunity. If Chief Minneapolis wanted to share any words, I'll leave that open if you wanted to come up. Sorry.
All right, yeah, you did kind of miss me there the first time around. I want to just echo what everyone else has said. We're really so grateful and appreciative of the partnership that we have with the City of Minneapolis, with DEED, and with PPL. I think the program has been so successful for so many years, and we're also proud of the work that has gone on in all these years, and the 27,000 young people who have been impacted by this work throughout the course of the program. And I think we just continue to innovate, and the future looks really bright, and we're really excited about the continuing improvements in the program and look forward to this next year. Recruitment started yesterday.
Great.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to see if Sean Pierce had anything she wanted to add. You could speak from that spot. Yeah, that'd be easier. Nope, I don't think so.
Thank you, Chair Goodman, for the opportunity to speak. And just in general, we talk a lot about collaboration here at the city, but workforce is actually a fairly intangible thing, and it takes a lot to be a champion of something that people don't always understand, don't always touch. And so just thank you, Chair Goodman, for being an incredible advocate, being an incredible partner, and for really making us all aware and being an expert in this work. For many, many years, it takes a lot to champion not just the conversation around equity, but to really make sure that we're implementing it in our budget and in our conversations and in our programs on a daily basis. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for that. To our partners, I spend a lot of time on workforce, very happily, and a lot of time in rooms where we talk about best practices, and we talk about conversations with employers, and we ask ourselves, what do we do? What do we do with folks who aren't quite on the on-ramp for gainful employment? And your leadership represents all the best practices that many people, not just in our region of MSP or in the Midwest, but in the country, look to. When we have employers come in, they want to move into the city, they say they want to be here because they want to connect to our workforce. And it's your ingenuity, your commitment to flexibility, your commitment to really truly embodying equity, inclusion, flexibility in the work that makes this possible. We cannot get this work done without you. Our staff is impeccable, literally the best in the state, and I would say the best in the Midwest, probably the country, bragging a little bit there. But truly, if we don't have employers, we don't have our partners such as you all bridging the gaps and showing our companies that they can do this work, we'd have a lot of folks really struggling in our city. And your work represents the ability for people to put their children in daycare, right? Increasing wages by $16,000 annually is incredible after 8 to 10 weeks in a program. The ability to say when you're 22 that I have 5 years of work experience makes you competitive in our market, and that's the competitiveness that we actually need to be able to thrive. So thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your commitment to the work. Thank you for your flexibility with what is a monstrous system on any given Sunday, and for really showing everyone in our region that we can be the best and we can constantly change while doing this. So thank you. Thank you.
There are many wonderful things happening in the city as it pertains to workforce, and I think the best thing is that we're not doing it ourselves, that this is a partnership of a whole bunch of committed individuals throughout the community who do this work with clients every single day. Our job is simply to make sure it's adequately funded, and then to make sure that the process is fair for all of those who participate. This committee had a presentation on our work, some of our workforce work, not a cycle or two ago, and I know that every person sitting here is committed to workforce development. That's a budget that's not been touched or messed around with, but slowly increased over the past number of years, and I think that everybody here understands we don't really ever have the amount of affordable housing we need. Half of the equation is to make sure that people are paid the kind of wage that they can live in some of the housing that we have. It's just a fundamental value of equity in the city that everyone has equal access to a job and a living wage job. So I want to thank everybody who participates in this work. It's really fun as a committee and a group of people to be able to lead it and offer our suggestions. But quite frankly, we don't know anything compared to the people in the room who do the work on a daily basis. So it's our honor to thank you and honor you for the work that you've done, and thank you for being here today. With that, seeing no further comments, we'll move on to our public hearing agenda. You are free to stay and hear about all of the licenses we're going to issue today. I know people want to do that. If not, that's okay, but we will move on to our public hearing agenda, starting with item number 2. Good afternoon.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Sheila Larson. I'm First Precinct General License Inspector. I'm presenting an application from Starbucks, owned by Sherman and Associates. The business address is 713 Washington Avenue South, Ward 3. They currently hold a restaurant license, and the applicant is requesting a Sidewalk Cafe license. Starbucks has been operating at this location since July 2019. There are no changes in the entertainment or their hours of operation. They have indoor seating for 27 and outdoor seating for 4 on a private patio, and their proposed Sidewalk Cafe would extend their outdoor seating to 12. On November 8th, public hearing notices were sent to owners within 300 feet of the premises. 2 multi-unit buildings were posted. Notices were also sent to Downtown Minneapolis Neighborhood Association, Minneapolis Downtown Council, and Councilmember Fletcher. We received 1 comment in support of the application from the Downtown Minneapolis Neighborhood Association. Starbucks is located on the ground floor of a mixed-use high-rise. There have been no significant police calls or 311 complaints attributed to the structure or the business. Licenses and Consumer Services recommends approval of the Sidewalk Cafe for Sherman and Associates, Inc., doing business as Starbucks.
Are there any questions for Ms. Larson? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is a sidewalk cafe for Starbucks coffee in the 3rd Ward. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Lexi Johnson. I'm with Sherman Associates. Thank you for having me. I just wanted to say our Starbucks Cafe is new to the Easttown neighborhood. We opened the cafe on Washington Avenue this past summer. Business has been great. We've received warm reception from our customers, neighbors, and the Neighborhood Association, the DMNA. We are so excited to join the neighborhood and to enhance our customers' experience with the addition of our Sidewalk Cafe.
Great, thank you so much for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fletcher.
Thank you, Chair Goodman. I almost want to make trouble with you for calling it Easttown, because we don't call it that place. It's not the name of a place, but we are happy that there's going to be seating there, and I'm really happy to move approval on this item.
Approval of item number 2 has been moved for the new Starbucks coffee in the Mills District.
Thank you.
Well, I've renamed it for you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 3.
It's me again. Thank you again, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm now presenting the application for Sales on 5th, owned by Garlic Inc. The business address is 10 North 5th Street in Ward 3. The applicant currently holds a restaurant license and is requesting extended hours. Sales on 5th has been operating in this location since 2014 and has had extended hours with the previous licensee. This hearing is due to an ownership change from the previous entity, Sal's Pizzeria Inc. The proposed hours of operation are Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. They have indoor seating only for 29. On November 8th, public hearing notices were sent to property owners within 300 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to the Downtown Minneapolis Neighborhood Association, the Minneapolis Downtown Council, and Councilmember Fletcher. We received 0 comments regarding this application. Given the nature of this area and this request, conditions were required with the previous extended hours license, and the new owner, Garlic Inc., has agreed to conditions that stipulate uniform security, staffing practices to dissuade disorderly conduct on premises, and ensure safety. Additionally, the owner owns Pizza La Vista, which has extended hours. The 1st Precinct Police have agreed to the applicant's business and security plan and approved the license, and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of the extended hours for Garlic Inc. doing business as Sales on 5th.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 3? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 3, which is an extended hours operation for Sal's on 5th. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Thanks, Council President. Thanks, Council Member. My name is Yusuf. I represent Sales on 5th. And I'm requesting the extended hours, to serve the community. And it makes up more than 50% of the business activity. And I'm really familiar with it since 2015. And going to maintain the conditions to ensure the safety of the crowds and our customers. And we're going to have extra staff on duty and manager on duty and an armed professional guard. Plus, we cooperate with the authorities and the police department and all issues, and we address it. Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fletcher.
Thank you, Chair Goodman. I think it's a really important component of a safe and vibrant downtown that we have businesses open in ways that people can get food. So I appreciate you taking this on. It will take all of us working together to make sure that we are achieving the safety goals that we're working on in that area. But I think your presence there can be a positive part of that, and I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you. So with that, I'll move approval.
Approval of item number 3 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Max Cervantes, and I'm a licensed inspector assigned to the 1st Precinct. I'm presenting an application from Unleashed Towns and Hops, owned by Unleashed Towns and Hops, LLC. The business address is 200 East Lyndale Avenue North, which is located in Ward 5. The applicant is requesting an on-sale wine and strong beer with no entertainment and Sunday sales license. If approved, they intend to provide food and beverage as well as indoor and outdoor dog areas. The proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., Friday through Saturday for their interior and exterior seasonally. They have indoor seating for 50 and outdoor seats for 40 on a private patio. On November 8th, public hearing notices were sent to residents and property owners within 450 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to the North Loop Neighborhood Association, the Warehouse District Business Association, and Councilmember Ellison. We received no comments from the community. The Licenses and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of an on-sale wine and strong beer with no entertainment license and Sunday sales license for Unleashed Towns and Hops. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Cervantes? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 4. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Kevin Knudsen and
Sam Carter.
And we are co-owners along with our third partner, Don Uremovich, who could not make it today. I just wanted to address a little bit more about what our business looks like, as we are a new concept coming to the Minneapolis area here. So our mission statement is we're committed to bringing responsible dog owners together in a safe and friendly environment. We want everyone to walk through our doors to feel a sense of community where our most important clients and their owners can socialize and make new friends. We live by the motto, nothing brings people together better than good food, cold beer, and your best friend. What we're trying to do is we're bringing a 6,000 square foot indoor dog park facility to the North Loop neighborhood just south of the farmers market in the downtown area there. We are going to also have a 2,500 square foot kitchen and people only space that's also going to be a full service kitchen, and then beer and wine as well. So if there's any questions about that, we'd love to field them.
No question. Okay, we don't do questions in public hearings, but I'll go ahead.
Sorry. How many animals can we bring in at a time?
Are you talking about as an individual?
Yes.
So we have it right now in our rules that it's 2 per person. Okay. So if you came with someone, you could have 3 so long as you're not going past that threshold of 2 per person.
Okay, I'm going to have to find some friends then. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Cunningham.
As an enthusiastic dog owner, human to a pack of pets, I will move approval of this item.
Approval of item number 4 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor Councilmember Ellison.
So my understanding is that the animals will outnumber the humans 2 to 1. I'm a little worried about that. And I'm hesitant to open up a bar for dogs, but I think that considering you all's presentation, I'm happy to support the motion by Councilmember Cunningham.
On the motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on then to item number 5. Mr. Ishmael, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. My name is Mohammed Ismail. I'm a lead licensed inspector assigned to 5th Precinct. I'm presenting an application from Los Andes, Inc., doing business as Los Andes Latin Bistro Los Andes, located at 607 West Lake Street in Ward 8. They are requesting a new on-sale liquor with Sunday sales with general entertainment. The business has indoor seating for 135, and there is no outdoor patio. The proposed hours are 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. Notices were sent to residents and property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to Lynn Lake Neighborhood Association, Lynn Lake Business Association, and Council President Vice President Andrea Jenkins. Excuse me. We have received 2 responses. One of the responses that supports the business is the Lynn Lake Neighborhood Association. Also, we have received a phone call from a neighbor that has some concerns about the hours of operation and the entertainment. The License and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of on-sale liquor with Sunday sales with general entertainment license. Thank you.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 5? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open up the public hearing on item number 5. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Is there no one here from Los Andes? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hello there, my name is Guillermo Quito, and here with my brother Christian Quito. We're 607 West Lake Street, Los Andes restaurant. We are happy to move to this new location. Luckily, with your help, we'll be able to do that, and that'll be all.
Great, thank you for being here today. Is there anyone else here on this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ellison.
I'm happy to move approval of this item.
Approval of item number 5 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Thank you for being here today. We'll move then on to items number 6 and 7.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Kelly Jones, and I'm the Director of Housing Inspection Services for the city. I'm here today to talk about the Renter Relocation Assistance Ordinance. There are several regulatory processes that, if unresolved, can lead to an owner losing their rental license or licenses. These include such things as revocations, condemnations, and cancellation of a license. If the end result of holding owners accountable for these situations is that the renter is required to vacate the property. This places an undue burden on the renters, and for those who already face housing access barriers, the cost and time of moving can be extremely difficult. And this is especially true in these times where the current market conditions are very tight. This ordinance provides renters a safety net in these situations by providing 3 months' rent to assist with moving cost. This is similar to the advance notice of sale ordinance, which provides first and last month's rent and a deposit. We did ask the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority and Hennepin County Emergency Assistance to review the ordinance language to be sure that it did not create any issues in terms of eligibility for these programs. They reported that due to the targeted, time-limited nature of the ordinance, it should not pose any kind of problems or interference. In the ordinance, the assistance would be provided on a per-unit basis and would not be contingent upon having a written lease. To reiterate, the ordinance only applies in situations where the renter is required to move due to the negligence on the part of the owner or manager through no fault of their own. The development of this ordinance involved extensive stakeholder involvement and input throughout all stages of the process. Meetings were held with owners and managers, renter advocacy organizations, the Housing Advisory Committee, the Rental Property Owners Advisory Committee, and a meeting with housing inspection staff who have the lived experience of enforcing regulatory codes that have the unintended consequence of displacing renters. Staff also reached out to these same stakeholders once the draft language had been completed, and many of their comments are included in this final draft. So this next slide is a high-level sort of picture of how the process will unfold. In all situations, regulatory services will start by educating the renter of the ordinance and their rights. This includes the suggestion that renters work with a housing advocacy organization, such as Legal Aid, to enter into a rent escrow account in housing court. This provides additional security if in the event that the owner does not readily pay for assistance when required. Once the revocation, action, or condemnation or cancellation is final, the owner has 7 days to make a payment to the renter. If the renter elected to put their rent in escrow, they will need to work with the courts to release the funds. If this is not forthcoming for some reason, the renter has the right to request payment from the owner. If the renter did not use the rent escrow process at the front end, they can go directly to the owner and request the required financial assistance. If the owner still refuses to pay, under this ordinance, the city will step in and provide the required assistance and recover the cost through application of a special assessment to the property taxes. As background, revocation, condemnation, cancellation of a license remain the last option for holding renters accountable, or owners accountable. Consistent with our Renters First policy, staff will use other tools that help preserve housing stability while holding owners accountable, including tenant remedies action, emergency tenant remedies actions, voluntary conditions on the license, and administrative citations. As noted, regulatory services will be in contact with the renters well in advance of any decision to vacate a property. Enforcement of non-payment will be done on a complaint basis and it will be up to the renter to inform regulatory services if they did not receive payment. If the property owner fails to pay the relocation assistance, there will be an additional $500 administrative fine for each individual unit. And finally, the effective date of this ordinance will be June 1st, 2020, which is consistent with the effective date of the other recently passed renters protection ordinances. It also provides a period for further development of implementation procedures and processes. And that's, now I can take questions.
Are there questions for staff on their presentation? Okay, sounds like there's no questions. Given that there's no questions, we're going to move right to a public hearing. This is a public hearing on passing the ordinance with regard to tenant relocation assistance, and it's been explained and described by staff. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward if you're here to speak to this issue and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Chair Goodman and committee. My name is Erik Howie with Homeline. We're a renter rights organization. I'm also a Ward 4 resident of Minneapolis. Just want to thank Councilmember Cunningham, council staff, city staff, as well as community members who helped craft this ordinance. I speak on behalf of Homeline in support of the ordinance. Our hotline attorneys and advocates speak to renters in Minneapolis and throughout the state daily about threats of involuntary displacement tied to rental inspection and licensing compliance. All too often, tenants are put in situations where they must decide between living in substandard, unsafe rental housing or facing displacement if they attempt to hold their landlord accountable. This can come in many ways, formal or informal eviction, or through regulatory enforcement by the city. By implementing a modest stopgap relocation assistance requirement, some tenants will have the opportunity to chip away at this imbalanced power dynamic. While we support the ordinance and urge the council to pass it, we also feel it's a single step toward addressing symptoms of a much larger problem. We want to highlight two issues that should be improved. 3 months of rent as relocation assistance might be perceived as generous coming from the status quo, but the status quo is what got us here, and we need to see significantly more interventions, meaningful interventions, to begin to address the harms experienced by our neighbors. The city should require a larger amount that helps capture the actual financial and social and health consequences of forced displacement. The list is lengthy and was shared in written comments submitted earlier by Inquilinos Unidos por Justicia. Secondly, tenants who are living in unlicensed properties through no fault of their own are not an insignificant group that can face a variety of threats to their housing, including displacement by city enforcement. This group appears to be omitted in the proposal, as an existing ordinance directs regulatory services to vacate unlicensed properties. Our hotline has fielded over 100 calls in Minneapolis in 2019 alone relating to rental license status, many of which were we did confirm that our client's landlord did not have a license. The legal and practical advice we offer varies in that situation, but know that the possibility of the city vacating the unit is a factor, one which a landlord may even use to intimidate the tenant into not reporting to the city. Requiring relocation assistance in these cases could contribute to increased licensing compliance by landlords and might allay some of the fear tenants may experience when deciding about how to proceed. To close, we support the ordinance and look forward to helping tenants enforce their rights while working with the city on improving this and other tenant protections. More broadly, we feel that the ordinance can be a model for developing relocation benefits tied to new tenant protections, particularly against no-fault displacement, such as informal evictions, notices to vacate, and lease non-renewals.
Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair Goodman, members of the council. My name is Cecil Smith. I'm a Ward 1 resident. I regularly stand here to voice criticisms and concerns about my city, but not so today. I would like to speak in support of the ordinance before you and to the process that Councilmember Cunningham followed with owners and managers through early engagement, listening to our concerns and making wise modifications. I wish to reiterate that in principle, more regulation is not what our industry needs to address market imbalances, but in this case, a narrowly focused policy can correct injustices in the current housing system, where egregious predatory and failed management practices demand a public policy response for those who have been victimized. I would like to thank Councilmember Cunningham because of his approach to the problem, particularly engaging all stakeholders to find a reasonable solution that addresses the problem. Furthermore, I applaud his careful analysis, listening ear, and foresight regarding implementation. This approach to policy making is the way forward for the challenges facing the city. Thank you for your time, and I urge approval of the ordinance.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ellison, followed by Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to, I know that there are a lot of thanks to go around, but I just wanted to give a special thanks to our city staff who, through the work happening in regulatory services, well ahead of any changes that this council may have contributed to, the Renter First policy was something that really bubbled up from the Here Attending Voices project, and I really love to seeing that work is being carried forward, and that the department is really invested in solutions towards stabilizing the lives of our most vulnerable in the city. And so I continue to be impressed by the professionalism and by the expertise coming out of regulatory services. And while there are plenty of people to thank, I especially want to just make sure that staff knows that the work is recognized and respected, and just offer my thank you. So thank you all.
Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am so excited about this work, as well as the next item that is going to come before the committee. This tenant relocation fee ordinance was a cross-departmental effort in collaboration with other government jurisdictions and external stakeholders, as was mentioned. I feel like we have achieved a great thing today. The fact that we have typically had folks who are on opposite sides of ordinances are both speaking in favor. I feel like we threaded a needle. So thank you for your input into the process, and to also build off of what Councilmember Ellison said. I'm grateful to everyone who's contributed, but I want to give a particular thank you to the housing and fire inspectors who took the time to really help us examine implementation of the ordinance, as well as Joel Fussy from the City Attorney's Office, Andrea Bosnia, did I get it? Sorry. And Director Kim Keller from Regulatory Services, and Katie Topinka and Director Andrea Brennan from CPED Housing. You all worked incredibly diligently on this ordinance to ensure it's not only a solid piece of legislation, but you also defined how this will be implemented well and connected it to the larger picture in renter protections. You all have so much on your plates. This is a very policy-heavy council, and you all made this work within the large workload, policy-making wise, as well as day-to-day work. This ordinance is meant to be a safety net at the very end of the process between the first citation and the rental license revocation. In one particular example, with the Renters First policy, we are developing all sorts of interventions to support both renters and property owners throughout the process to be able to improve the quality of housing and living conditions for renters. This is meant to support those whose landlords are bad actors and will not step up for them and do the right thing. As a council member, I know I speak for many, if not all, my colleagues when I say that we languish in revoking a rental license, because despite the property owners not providing high quality, healthy housing with dignity, we know that they also house some of the most vulnerable renters in our city, and those renters will be put on the street as a result of a council action. So this ordinance allows us to hold those bad actors accountable and minimize the negative impacts on vulnerable renters. So with that, I ask for my colleagues to please support this ordinance as well as the next, because they address current critical gaps in renter protections, and I look forward to continuing the process of building out more robust protections to ensure that we have a welcoming, strong city for renters. And with that, I will move approval of this ordinance.
Approval has been moved of item number 6. Are there any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll then move on to item number 7.
Madam Chair, council members, my name is Andrea Bosnia, and I'm the Interagency Coordinator for Regulatory Services. I am here today with technical amendments to an existing ordinance. So in the 2019 adopted budget, the fund balance in the rental repair revolving fund was increased by $2 million on a one-time basis to be recovered through assessments on property taxes. This funding brought about the exciting possibility of utilizing the existing Emergency Repair Board ordinance, which has not been utilized to date. Essentially, the ordinance authorizes the Director of Regulatory Services to create a board consisting of several city departments to remedy emergency violations in case of unresponsive rental property owners. Our best current repair option in these cases is the Emergency Tenant Remedies Action, or ETRA, which can require up to 10 days due to established court process. The Emergency Repair Board ordinance utilizes a shortened response time and helps fill the gap. Typically, we're talking about a timeline of 24 to 48 hours. As we develop our arc towards engagement with renters and focus on current priorities, such as the renter first policy, we want to continue prioritizing renter stability in cases where lack of repairs would potentially result in condemnation, forcing renters to move out through no fault of their own. Today, we're proposing 3 technical changes in order to fully implement this ordinance. First, we're looking to amend the composition of the board. We're doing this through the addition of CPED to replace the fire marshal, as Fire Inspection Services is now a division in Regulatory Services, and we want to ensure representation from multiple departments on the board. Secondly, as we're having staff become potentially available in the evenings and on the weekends, we also want to ensure that the 3 departments represented can attend on short notice, and that the directors closest to the work rather than department heads are guiding these efforts. Therefore, we're removing the cap on the number of designees that can be nominated. And lastly, we're adding the ability to create technical rules for the hearings, similar to the Housing Board of Appeals, to ensure basic procedural standards. And here we have a brief workflow of the process. So first, Regulatory Services inspectors would find the violations. These would either happen on routine inspections or through renter complaints. Emergency violations are well defined in ordinance, and they include utility shutoffs, low or no heat, plumbing issues such as having sewage in the basement, electrical issues if there's exposed wires at the property, and structural issues where part of the building, something like the roof, might not be sound. Once inspectors identify the emergency violations and work with managers on elevating these issues, they would send a notice of violation to both the renter and the owner, and then the owner would get a specific time and date by which the repairs must happen. Again, this is usually those 24 to 48 hours, given the severity of the violation. And then simultaneously, the department would set up an emergency board meeting immediately after the deadline, and then this meeting would also act as a hearing. If the repair is complete by the time of the hearing, then we would cancel it. If the repair is not yet complete, then the board would meet. The board quorum for this is 1 representative from Health, 1 from CPED, and 1 from Regulatory Services, and Regulatory Services serves as the convening department. The hearing would allow the inspector to share their findings and owners to provide any additional information if they choose to be present. After a discussion and clarifying questions, we would choose one of the 3 options. We would grant an extension for the violation, especially if we knew a contractor was coming out in a few hours to resolve this issue. We can order a remedy, which involve having a city-approved contractor repair the violation and then assessing this cost to the property, or we can order any other necessary actions. And lastly, in terms of enforcement, we're looking to enforce in cases that have the potential to lead to condemnation due to property actions or inactions. We are looking at cases where property owners are unresponsive or they have a track record of being uncooperative with the city. In addition, we've also had cases where property owners have been very willing to repair emergency violations but have been unable to secure the funding. In such cases, owners might be able to utilize this ordinance as a way of resolving the violation and then repaying through assessment. This concludes my presentation. I can stand for any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions for staff? Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you very much for the presentation and seeing how we could use this old board more effectively. I appreciate this coming forward. I just want to be clear that this would relate to any kind of housing, not necessarily just rental housing?
So it would be for rental housing properties.
Just for rental housing?
Correct.
Okay, and if somebody doesn't have the money to make their repairs, I noticed it said after the hearing the repairs could be ordered and then the city would do them. I imagine that could be an option. Somebody could realize it's in their best interest and they could do that not necessarily in a confrontational manner, but realizing, oh, here's a resource that can actually help me.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there further questions for staff? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 7, which is the Emergency Housing Repairs Ordinance. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of this item.
Further comments or questions on the motion to approve? Councilmember Gordon.
I'm very supportive of this. I just want to note that as it's moving along, there is a need for non-rental housing, also has emergency repairs sometimes, and people are at risk of living in a dangerous situation. So I think there might be an opportunity for us to look at how we might be able to use this as a model for expanding it.
On the motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Thank you very much for your work. We'll move on to item number 8, which is a quasi-judicial hearing. And before we get started, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fussy, our attorney, to give the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. As you may recall, this is a state-ordered type of revocation that business licensing brings before you periodically a couple times a year. It differs in that way kind of substantially from the general quasi-judicial hearings that might appear before you in which there's already been an evidentiary hearing through a municipal hearing officer or an administrative law judge, for instance. This is a kind of a time-compacted statute, a state law that requires upon notice to the city's business licensing division that a licensed business has a tax delinquency with the State Department of Revenue. Our discretion is taken away and we must revoke that license within 30 days unless the licensee can provide a tax clearance certificate, and essentially that means that they've paid the delinquency with the Department of Revenue or entered into an acceptable payment plan with the Department of Revenue. Staff is here to address the particularities with this case, but the only issue before you is whether the business has obtained a tax clearance certificate. If it has, the matter can be dismissed. If they have not, it's incumbent upon you to recommend revocation of the license. And with that, I believe that staff is present to address the matter, and then also it would be proper to call for the applicant if they are present or a representative is present after this, although I don't necessarily believe that they are, but certainly we can open it up for them. Thank you.
On item number 8. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Madam Chair and committee members, Tamales de Rancho is a business located at 1509 Lake Street in Ward 9 with a food manufacturer license held by Gastromex Inc. On November 12th, Licenses and Consumer Services was notified in writing by the Minnesota Department of Revenue Collection Enforcement Unit to initiate revocation action against Gastromex Inc. They were notified by certified mail on November 13th of a hearing to be held during Economic Development and Regulatory Services Committee on Tuesday, December 3rd, with the recommendation to revoke the food manufacturer license. As of today, staff has not received a clearance letter from the Minnesota Department of Revenue. Licenses and Consumer Services recommends proceeding with the revocation.
Are there any questions for staff on the report with regard to item number 8? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll ask if the applicant or the applicant's representative is here. On item number 8, in our hearing, we are asking again if the applicant or the applicant's representative is here in the room today or in the hall. Last call for the applicant or the applicant's representative. Seeing that the applicant and the applicant's representative is not here, I'm going to move to approve the staff recommendation to revoke the license. Are there further questions or comments on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved, and then we'll move on to our very last item, which is item number 16, the Department of Human Services GEO bond grant funded for the family partnership. Do we have staff here? Mark Gardner, great, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Chair Goodman, committee members, good afternoon. In 2018, the Minnesota legislature approved a state general obligation bond-funded grant to the Family Partnership Building for Better Future projects. Family Partnership is a nonprofit social service provider that supports low and moderate income households in Minneapolis for the past 140 years, serving about 17,000 families and children a year. Minneapolis supported the Family Partnership project in its 2018 state legislative policy position, and approval of this report and the actions in it will enable the city to perform the duties of local government sponsor and fiscal agent for the state construction grant. The state grant was awarded towards the construction of the $23 million facility to be located at the southeast corner of Lake Street and Bloomington Avenue. The 48,000 square foot building will provide new headquarters office space, along with therapeutic daycare, a clinic for family and trauma counseling services, a center for empowerment of victims of sex trafficking, and community meeting and training rooms. The actions before you today authorize the city to perform the legal and administrative roles necessary to implement the state bond-funded project by accepting the state grant, approving the governmental program, and entering into legal agreements with the Minnesota Department of Human Services and with Family Partnership that are required for the construction and operation of a publicly funded, bond-funded facility. Closing on the city legal agreements will be contingent upon the Family Partnership meeting all closing requirements by the state, the city, and their private financing partners. Over the next several months, the Family Partnership intends to meet these requirements, close on both its public and private financing for the project, and then commence construction. I would like to acknowledge that representatives of the Family Partnership are here today and am available to answer questions about the report.
Okay, are there any questions for staff on the staff report?
I just have one quick question.
Councilmember Cano.
Could you state the amount of funding, taxpayer funding? Was it $10 million or $15 million on the project?
It's $10 million in a state bond-funded construction grant. I believe it's $1.6 million was also awarded a pre-development grant to the project for design purposes. Okay. So that was a general fund grant. The $1.6 million, the $10 million grant is a state bond-funded grant.
Okay, wonderful. I just didn't hear that before, so I just wanted to make sure folks were aware.
Okay, great. Thank you for your report. Sounds like Councilmember Cano has staff direction. Would you like to move your staff direction, Councilmember Cano?
Yes, Madam Chair, and I hope everyone has a copy. If not, I can hand this down in case folks didn't get one. So the staff direction I'm bringing forward today reads, require as a condition of closing on the financing that the Family Partnership work collaboratively with city staff, the project's architecture firm, and staff from the Dunwoody College of Technology to refine the building design of the project with the goals of increasing the ground floor activation of the building and aligning the project to the city's racial equity goals by reflecting the cultural community and the cultural assets of the neighborhood through facade applications and design. Such refinements shall not create an unmet financing gap for the project, conflict with any state bonding rules, or impede the existing project schedule, financing sources, and current city land use approvals. Working collaboratively to accomplish the goals above entails that the Family Partnership complete the following steps. Number one, that the project team will host a public ideation session with Dunwoody College of Technology staff and East Lake Street
stakeholders to brief the community on the status of the project and gather specific feedback on how to further activate the building using design. Number 2, that the project team will at least have 2 meetings with Dunwoody College of Technology staff and CPED staff to discuss design alternatives. And number 3, that the project team shall prepare a written response summarizing the input from the meetings above and the design elements it is incorporating in response to the above mentioned input and feedback, and then present the rationale for certain design alternatives considered that it is not able to incorporate. Finally, delegating to the CPED director the authority to determine whether the family partnership has satisfactorily met the foregoing requirements for allowing closing.
Okay, are there any questions for Councilmember Cano? And you were able to get this to the family partnership earlier today, is that true?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. Further comments? Seeing no further comments, are you moving approval of the staff direction?
I would like to move this forward, yes, ma'am.
Approval, on the motion to approve the staff direction, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And on the main motion, which is Mr. Gardner's report plus the staff direction, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.